Mr. Bharti, Mr. Khaitan, Mr. K.N. Rao, Mr. Sharma, Mr. Chandrana, Mr. Goyal, all the senior office bearers of IPPTA, all the invitees, delegates. Greetings to all of you on behalf of Telangana government. For those of you who have come from other cities, other states, other countries, warm welcome. May we have a good stay here in Hyderabad. I would also like to congratulate IPPTA for bringing their AGM to Hyderabad. And I hope that in future also, whenever that occasion arises, you would look up to Hyderabad for hosting these events. The city hosts a very important annual conference on paper tech. In fact, the Bharti was reminding me about it, and I recall myself attending that event on a couple of occasions in the past. So there's a very good atmosphere here, receptive towards the pulp and paper industry, which today requires lots of support, and we all need to kind of ensure that the industry remains very prominent, becomes competitive, and brings good name to our country. But the reality is also that this industry is under lots of public scrutiny. And the reasons are very obvious to everyone, particularly because you use wood, trees are felled to make your product. The production process is also very power intensive. It is also very water intensive. The effluents which come out are polluting in nature. And eventually the final product, paper that we use, that also sees lots of wastage. So let us say end to end, there are problems, there are issues, and the overall perception about this industry is not very positive. In fact, I'll give you a very real example. Just about 20 days ago, uh, as I mean, many of you may not know this, but in our Telangana government, whenever we receive an investment proposal which is above 200 crores or which can give employment to about 1,000 people, we categorize it as a mega project. And there is a group of ministers, 3 ministers are in that group, who are empowered to evaluate every mega project and then decide whether the government will agree to it, what kind of incentives will be provided, what kind of infrastructure support will be given. So I remember 20 days ago, we had this meeting of this group of ministers, and amongst other proposals that we were discussing, one of the mega project proposal was for establishing of a paper mill. I don't want to name the company, but it was a big proposal, almost over in excess of 1,000 crores. And I remember normally when such kind of proposals come, the deliberations, the debate amongst the group of ministers is only about the quantum of incentives. How much should we give? They have asked for this much. Is that justified? In the previous cases, how much have we given? Most of the time is spent on figuring out what kind of package to kind of allot. But in this particular case, I recall most of the discussion was what kind of damage they will cause to the environment, what kind of pollution will they cause. They're asking for prime land, which is very close to a river. I'm sure the intention is to let out all the pollutants in that river so that no one will notice. And most of the discussions was about that, not about the fact that 1,000 crore of investment will come, so many jobs will be created. Of course, we had lots of information about the company. We were able to kind of satisfy the group of ministers. But the public perception is like that lands are asked close to the river so that effluents can be easily floated in the river and no one will notice, and so on and so forth. So how does one really turn this kind of a perception around? And the theme that you have chosen to discuss in these 2 days is something which will potentially can become a game changer for you. How do you make the industry so remarkably efficient, so remarkably green that whatever else is associated with that industry, all that goes in the background, and the credit comes in terms of your green manufacturing, in terms of safe discharge of your effluents, in terms of recycling. All the other speakers spoke about some of these principles, so I don't need to repeatedly tell you what these principles are, but it is also very important from a sustainability point of view. In fact, we have been speaking or we have been using this term sustainability in a very casual and offhand manner. It is typically spoken just to give lip service rather than with any kind of serious intent. But I noticed this shift happening. In fact, every year, the global corporate community and lots of other important decision makers, they meet in an annual conference called the World Economic Forum. It happens at Davos, and we have been participating for the last 5 years. And again, typically, one important theme is identified, and lots of corporates speak about that particular theme, what they intend to do. And in the past years, whenever I have gone there, I also get a sense that most of it is talk shop, it is just lip service, very little will come out of it. But this time in January, when the event happened, the focus was on ESG, and sustainability was a very, very important kind of a theme which was discussed. And this time you could clearly make out that people were making firm commitments. They were kind of willing to hold themselves accountable. They were encouraging others to make similar commitments. The whole shift of what we call as call for action. Like, we have done enough talking. Unless we translate that talking into action, people will just take us as persons without any credibility. And therefore, it is very important, particularly when the world also has seen so much of disruption due to the pandemic, etc., that much more responsibility, much more responsible and accountable behavior is expected of us. So I see that happening, of course, globally. And I won't be surprised at all if that trend becomes very serious and very important in our country also. And as I said, this industry, because of the perceptions around it, needs to take that lead. And this is also an opportunity when everyone else, we just heard Ken Rao Garu speak about the cement industry and some of the good practices that have been introduced there. So if they can do it and everyone else can do it, we are seeing lots of shift in the automotive industry also. Lots of, it's not just the introduction of electric vehicles, but even the ICE vehicles, the conventional vehicles also are moving towards blended fuel, and other kind of measures are being taken. So this is something which is a very important need of the hour. And because you have chosen this as a theme, I also kind of appreciate you, because unless you speak in one voice, unless the industry takes some kind of a common decision, it will be very difficult for an individual person or an individual company to move the needle. You will always face that risk of being seen as an outlier. But if everyone else creates a combined norm or a collective norm, it is easy to take action appropriately. Now, regarding action, my suggestion would be that there are good examples also. It is not, I'm not generalizing when I'm saying that the entire industry needs to be painted in the wrong way or tarnished in some other fashion. There are lots of good examples. In fact, in our own state of Telangana, ITC paper board, Bhadrachalam paper board, that is functional since 1977, more than almost 50 plus years. And they have a very good track record of energy efficiency in encouraging more and more plantations, planting more than what they require. We have also seen how their processes, manufacturing processes, have been transformed and reformed to follow green norms. And various other examples are also there. Mr. Bharti spoke about the Seshasai paper mills, and many other examples are there. But now I guess the way forward would be to prepare some kind of a toolkit. If you look at the entire chain of manufacturing, which are the processes where changes can be brought in to make them more compliant and more sustainable. And of course, some of you mentioned that it may cost more. So do an actual cost benefit analysis. If it costs more, how much more? But what are the long-term benefits? And show the maths so that it appears convincing. And of course, make that toolkit so that even a small player, see, the industry is not only the ITCs and the Seshasais, there are mid-scale players also, small players also. How does one help them? And the toolkit should also find solutions which are affordable, which are accessible. Lots of good practices are seen across the world, but how easy is it to get those technologies transferred make them available to everyone. There are, of course, O&M requirements also of any new technology. Do we have the skills to manage those kind of technologies? I also appreciate the I also appreciate the point which Mr. Rao mentioned about engaging with startups. In fact, when I was walking in, I saw a number of booths here in which machinery has been displayed, which is, of course, important because all of you work in this sector. Your focus is on technology, so understanding the latest machinery is important for you. But lots of very transformative work is happening in the world of startups also. In fact, there are many startups. We work with some of them who are who have very useful products which measure and which monitor the kind of energy that you use, and then it also tells you what is the norm of the industry in that kind of industry in that kind of energy usage. Are you above the norm? Are you below the norm? It will give you a very easy to understand and act upon kind of a dashboard. And some of the industries in other sectors who have employed that, I know for sure that they have been able to achieve at least 30 to 40% of energy savings in their monthly bills. We have other startups who have created solutions on preventive maintenance so that the performance of every piece of machinery is always optimum. You get alerts, you get very data-based kind of information on whether a particular machinery is underperforming and what needs to be done. So lots of very interesting products and solutions are available. And if you precisely tell us what are the manufacturing pain points that you face, where do you see opportunity of optimizing, we'll be very happy to source startup solutions for you, because Hyderabad, many of you would be aware, is a very important center for innovation and entrepreneurship. And there are hundreds of startups who will be willing to work with you and give you useful products and solutions. But at the same time, the responsibility is a collective responsibility. I'm happy that the leadership of IPPTA have taken this mantle upon themselves to speak about this issue, to give opportunity to everyone to get updates, to provide expertise, and hopefully they will also be able to monitor what kind of good work is happening across the industry and provide these kind of reports and documents publicly also, so that as I have been mentioning again and again, the perception issues that this industry faces, that can be kind of taken care of. So once again, warm welcome to all of you to Hyderabad, and thank you very much for inviting me. Have a wonderful 2 days sessions ahead. Thank you.